Perfect. First of all, thank you all so much for joining. My name's Nikki Maury. I'm the managing consultant here at Bespoke HR. Just to first give you some kind of housekeeping bits, we are recording this. This is just for anyone that can't join you. Also, will receive the recording following the webinar. And also, we do have a Q&A box that is live. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, just pop them in the Q&A box and we'll make sure that we're answering them at the end. But also, if you have any questions after the webinar, then please do just drop us a line. That's no problem at all. So this is our Beyond the Job advert, building a recruitment strategy that works. As I said, I'm Nikki Maury. I am the managing consultant here at Bespoke HR. So just a bit of background on Bespoke, just in case you don't know, we were established in 2005. We are an outsourced HR company. So we offer everything from the employee journey. So that's recruitment and onboarding all the way to kind of their time within the businesses and then their exit from the business as well. We've got over 150 clients now, and there are 17 of us now in the team, as you can see from that picture on your screen right now. It's worth me noting that everything I talk about today, we can support you with implementing or even running for you. So for some clients, we advertise vacancies for them and sift through the CVs and give them a kind of highlighted package of the kind of key people that we think would be perfect for their business. Or we can do the interviews, we can do the assessment centres, we can do whatever you would like support with. I will be talking about all of this today, but if you have any questions, like I say, about how we can support you, then just drop us a line. So I've been in HR for more years than I'd like to actually express. I've worked at HR director level. So in terms of kind of what I have been working in, it's everything from that onboarding through to the exit. So today we're going to focus on that recruitment strategy and how we can support you and what also as a business you need to be thinking about as well. So the agenda for today is looking at, firstly, the implication of bad hires and what that can do for your business and the reputation. Building your employer brand and how important that is and what that looks like. The modern recruitment toolkit, what we need to be considering as times have changed, things have changed in terms of how we recruit, especially in the digital age that we're living in right now. Onboarding for retention and how that affects not only the recruitment and your new employees, but also current employees as well. And then I will wrap up with just some key takeaway points as well. Perfect. So let's talk about the implication of bad hires. There's some really kind of obvious key things that when we bring in a bad hire or we recruit someone that maybe isn't right for the business, of what that affects. And time's one of the biggest ones. So whether it's kind of the time it takes you to create your advert, to what that job spec looks like, to the advertising and making sure that the adverts are everywhere that you need them to be, looking at where the adverts should go and actually where are the employees that you're targeting, where would they be looking? Reviewing the CVs, planning the onboarding, all of this is time, and time costs money as well. So by having a bad hire, the time that it takes, actually, when you work it out in terms of your day rate of the people that are involved in your recruitment, actually cost is one of the biggest implications of bad hires. So that cost, it's your time, it's your team's time, it's their cost in energy, but also the cost of business in reputational damage as well. And that can be whether you've introduced a bad hire to a customer or client who then has experienced working with that person that hasn't gone well. So the cost can not only be in financial terms, but also in reputational damage as well. Internal effects. So we're looking at employer brand. So and that can be your employees. So them seeing that actually the business is making some hires that aren't right for the business, that people are coming and going very, very quickly. And actually that brings uncertainty. It also brings people to kind of really be concerned about what we are doing from our recruitment side of things and why things aren't working. So that employee brand can really affect and that negative energy within the business, and that also can have quite a detrimental effect above any of the other implications. Really, bad hires really do affect your employer brand, and your employer brand is what sells you as a business. So your employees sell you as a business, and then the effect that has can be detrimental. Quick fixes. Some of the employees and some of the recruitment processes that we go through is because we needed someone yesterday. We've all been there where workload's high, our teams are stretched, and actually we need to start looking at getting someone very, very quickly. However, that doesn't mean we should bypass our recruitment process. We still need to make sure that that person is right for the business. So that is making sure that they fit, because also we're going to be back to square one if we are making quick fixes that aren't right for our business. Just because on paper they look like the person is perfect, actually we need to make sure that we're testing that, and we're going to talk about that quite a bit later. So also we need to make sure we're looking internally, and that internal is making sure that we're not overlooking our current team. If we are overlooking our current team, if we're not speaking to our current team about the vacancies that we have within our business, we can end up with employees feeling undervalued, overlooked, and unmotivated, which is the last thing we want when we're also potentially running with limited resource as well. So putting your vacancies internally and externally kind of make sure that you get that wider pool of candidates, but also that no one's being overlooked. So internally and external advertising sometimes really, really helps, especially within your internal, to make sure that actually everyone knows what we're recruiting for, what the roles are, and what process we're following. Communication is another one, and that's internal and external. So internal, it's kind of introducing new hires, making sure that they're kind of introduced to the team, the time that it takes to do that, making sure that the team knows that we've got new starters coming. To then know that new starters are sadly leaving, that is a really negative thing to be sharing with our team. I'm not saying we're going to get every hire right every time, but what we need to make sure is we get more right hires than we do bad hires. That's the same externally when we're putting faces on websites, that we're introducing new people, when we put a post on LinkedIn to say welcome to the team, and actually then when we go onto the website they are no longer with the team and we've had to take that post down. Bad hires can have a really detrimental effect for our employer brand, because actually, because of the digital age that we're working in and we're living in, actually we do share news far and wide now where we never used to. So, and that's LinkedIn, social medias, on our websites. So actually bad hires, then if we're shouting about new starters and we're taking them down as quickly, we need to really look at that recruitment strategy and what we're doing to make sure that we are looking at our team and what we're doing to make sure that people work within our business. So building your employee brand. So we always used to think that the brand was just about what your business does and selling the services, but we also have to think about our employer brand as well. Okay, so what that means is our culture and values, first of all. So what does your culture say about you, and do your values match your culture? Within our recruitment process, when we're doing our interviews, we obviously sell the business of how we look after people, how we are flexible, how we look after our work-life balance, our well-being, to how we do our team days, and we're a social kind of company. Actually, when someone joins our business, does that match what your culture is doing? And what I mean by that is making sure actually we're regularly assessing what our values mean, and if actually do they still match what our culture is. When businesses grow, so we go from 5-10 people where actually everyone's in the same room, communication's a lot easier, we're a very tight team because we work so closely together, everyone knows what everyone else is doing. It's very different to a culture where you've got 30-40 people that are a mixture of hybrid and remote working, that actually then communication's a lot different. How we bring our teams together is a lot different. So actually we need to make sure that we are reflecting our culture and values with our current team. So it's always worth asking yourself, do our daily practices reflect your values? So, and if not, then what changes need to be made? And in doing an employee values or brand exercise can be really, really beneficial, and can also be really beneficial for your team to go, right, what do we stand for, and how do we sell ourselves? Because we want to make sure how we're selling ourselves within the recruitment strategy is exactly how we sell ourselves when people join. Next to our online presence. So maintaining and engaging that careers page is really important. And what I mean by that is making sure that it's up to date. If there is a candidate that's really excited about your business and wants to learn more, and they go on your website and actually now's not the right time, and they come back 3 months later to see what vacancies you're still advertising, we don't want them to see just the same vacancies again. It shows we're not updating our careers page. It shows that we're not on top of those kind of admin activities, and actually it makes candidates question whether you're the right business for them. So maintaining that kind of careers page with up-to-date vacancies is really important. Active on social media, it's a new world that we live in now. It didn't exist when I was first recruiting within my first HR roles, but actually social media can have a really, really good presence for you. We are in a digital age where actually when job seekers are researching potential employers more and more, and that's social media, that's Glassdoor, that's LinkedIn. So actually making sure that we're active on those social media, but then reflect and look about what we are saying about us. Does our social media represent our teams? Does it show our teams? Does it show who we are in a positive way? But also, is it a true reflection of who we are? Or is our social media very much focused on the product or the service that we're offering? Do we talk about our team? And that's always worth having a look at as well. Also, positive employer reviews on platforms like Glassdoor and those kind of things, it can significantly impact a candidate's decision of where they want to apply for a role or not. So if there is a negative response, if you do have a negative comment on Glassdoor, whether it's positive or negative, it really demonstrates by responding positively and professionally to it that we are aware that we're doing something about it, but also that we are transparent in kind of how we're looking to improve. If there is a negative, we look at improving, we acknowledge it, and also then we take it away and see if we can move forward. Okay, so online presence is a brand new thing that we're looking at for recruitment. I know it's been here a while, but actually it's getting more and more important as businesses go. Employer advocacy. So this is looking at our testimonials. Like I said on the social media, are our teams talking about us? Do our teams share things on LinkedIn about the business? And do we celebrate our teams on our websites, on LinkedIn, on our socials, whether it's long service, whether it's birthdays, where if our employees are happy to do testimonials, if they're happy to be shared on social media, if they're happy to network, your employees are the biggest sell for you, and they will sell better than anyone the business that they work in, because they have decided to join you as well. So really look at that employee advocacy and actually what they can do to share positive experiences of working for the business. Then looking at compensation and benefits, we automatically assume that that's just related to salary and bonus, but actually it's not all about that. While salary, of course, is important, employees also really, really value benefits, work-life balance, professional development, training courses, workplace flexibility. So actually, are we sharing those things that actually don't just take them as a granted? Make sure people know about them. Whether actually you provide a really good coffee when people are on site, whether you do a lunch every month, actually people, the teams are invited to join. She really shout about the things that make people feel that is an inclusive and great place to work. We also need to maintain, and obviously this is where salaries do come in, that we are competitive. Salary benchmarking is always an activity that we should be completing, and that's just making sure we are competitive in the market. We can, as long as we're competitive, we can then shout about our benefits, but actually if our benefits are who we are and what we stand for and how inclusive we are and what we create within our culture, then that's a great benefit for someone to be joining. And that could be the decision of whether an employee joins you or not. It's also worth considering a benefit such as wellness programs and mental health support. We actually work with a platform called the Wellness Cloud, which offers TED Talks and webinars, and also it does offer consultations and counselling on there as well, but it just gives hints and tips and things to be aware of. It gives budgeting ideas. It also gives kind of financial planning, and all your employees would need to do is select what they're interested in, and they would get kind of regular emails of things that they may or may not be interested with. And that could be how to cope in the winter months, or how to make sure that we're getting out and working at home and that we're still getting out and getting some fresh air as well. So if you'd like more details about Wellness Cloud, do just let us know. So let's go to the modern, let me just go back, sorry. I'm going to have to stop sharing and reshare 2 seconds. It jumped ahead of me. There we go. Bear with me 2 seconds. There we go, we are back. Okay, perfect. So our modern toolkit. So this is imperative to making our right hires. This tests our candidates to make sure they are going to be successful employees in the future. So the first thing we need to make sure we're doing is knowing what we're looking for. So have we spent time to understand that job specification? Has that job changed since you last recruited for that role? Have you involved your line managers, teammates, team members to actually see, is that the job that they do? And also then, what are your expectations of the role? Beyond the technical skills, we need to know what success looks like in that role. And if we're setting people up from the get-go of this is the expectations of the role, this is what we're looking for, then people joining will know what's expected of them. Okay. The other thing to note on this is that we used to be able to rely purely on our CVs. And due to the joys of ChatGPT and AI, actually, we can no longer just solely rely on those. We can, you can put into ChatGPT, here's the advert, create me a CV that shouts about all of the things that I can do related to this advert. And all of a sudden, you've got the perfect CV that relates to the skills that we're looking for. So we need to make sure that we are very much setting our expectations from the get-go, because from setting those expectations and from setting that specification, we are then able to create a recruitment process that tests our candidates to make sure that they can then deliver on those expectations. So what we're testing, so whether it's looking at attention to detail exercises to do within the recruitment process, whether it is having a look at doing a written exercise or responding to a customer complaint, actually think about that testing and making sure that actually we're screening in a way that gives us a really great idea of whether we think those candidates can reach the expectations that we're looking for the role that they're going to be employed to do. Assessment centres are a great way of doing this. For one of my clients, I actually run an assessment centre, which normally it runs over 3 days. We have kind of different rooms running, but within that day, the candidates are asked to present, they're asked to do a written exercise, and then there's a recruitment interview, which is competency-based, and then a director interview, which is just about them and their CV. So within that day, we're really assessing everything that we need to know about that candidate to make sure that they are fit for the role that we're looking to employ them for. We also need to consider, and it's worth thinking about, is who's involved in your recruitment process. Is there a good split of male and female across that recruitment process? Are they getting to really understand the culture within the business as well? Sometimes when you're in a meeting room, you don't really get to feel the office to have a really good idea of what that culture represents. So actually, is it worth adding in a coffee with some junior team members when they can go out for 10 minutes and ask the questions that they wouldn't want to ask to senior managers within the recruitment process? Could that be a good way of actually just getting them to sit down with 2 team members and go, right, what would you like to know about the role and actually what it's really like? And sometimes just adding that in as part of your recruitment processes, the team members feel that they're involved in the recruitment process, but also the candidate gets a really, really strong idea of your culture and the people that you have within your team and that they potentially also could be working for. So that recruitment process, it might take a while to really hone in of what you want to be testing, what you want to be assessing, who you want to be involved in. But actually, in the long term, it will make sure that you're getting those candidates with the skills that you need to be able to deliver the roles that you're looking for. Another way of testing that culture is personality profiling or testing. So, if you are looking for a role which is of a supportive nature, for example, and you're looking to someone that naturally collaborates, that naturally wants to be that supportive kind of role within a meeting, within the workspace, then actually that's what the characteristics and the behaviours that you would want that person to be exhibiting. So, personality profiling and testing can be a really helpful tool to assess a cultural fit. It's also worth doing with your current teams, especially within a team maybe that's newly formed, of actually them understanding each other a little bit more and how they respond to certain things. Do they not like going to a meeting where there's no agenda, whereas actually three other of the team members like going, that's how they roll. So actually that personality profiling and testing can only give you an insight in your team, but also then when you're bringing a new person in, actually how would they fit within that dynamic as well. Within Bespoke HR, we do have Katie, who's our learning and development trainer, who is qualified in DISC. So if you were interested in learning more about personality profiling in DISC, then just let us know. Then communication. So who is communicating with the candidate throughout that process? So that is who's inviting them to the assessment centre. Are we doing telephone interviews? Who have they spoken to and who are they communicating with? If it feels slick, it feels organised, and there's people that at every point, the candidate and you know where we are within the recruitment process, it will feel like we are really on top of understanding who we need and who our people are. So communication is really, really key. Lack of communication within a recruitment process can result in losing top candidates. And that's whether actually it's because responsiveness is too delayed, that actually we're not giving them the answers. If there's a great candidate and that day they've done the assessment centre, they ticked all the boxes, you've had that conversation with senior management and you're happy, then make sure that that candidate knows. If they're actively looking for a new role, the chances are is that you're not the only employee that they are looking at. So make sure that you're responding and that you're getting back to that candidate. Don't lose candidates because we haven't been responsive enough. Also, making sure that we're communicating at every point, that we're sharing our address, where they need to go, and as much detail as we possibly can on that recruitment process. So outlining who is responsible for communicating with the candidates throughout the process really helps you kind of structure that process to make sure that all the points are covered. So just on a closing thought on the recruitment toolkit, if just a well-defined recruitment process helps attract and retain the right talent, you're testing the right things, your assessments are getting all of the answers that you know, you're strengthening your employee brand because actually you're sharing your culture, you're sharing what you need to work within your business. And actually the successful candidates know exactly what to expect from working with you. And this shows clarity, it gives fairness, but also it's really culturally aligned. So this will just lead to better hiring decision, and having that set recruitment toolkit of, if we are recruiting, this is the process we follow. And whether that's an assessment centre, whether that's kind of that's tasks that they need to do before they get to an interview, whether that's meeting face to face, whatever works for your business, sit down and work out what that process is right for you and how it culturally fits and who's involved at every point. And that means that you will be creating a process that hopefully will be as tight as you possibly can. Going on to onboarding, I'm really aware of the time. So going on to the onboarding starts from the offer letter. So that is from as soon as that offer letter goes in, then that's when your onboarding starts. So it's worth making sure that we know what that offer letter contains, who is sending it, when are we getting it back, and what is the next steps on that onboarding. Do they need new starter forms? How are we getting them on our HR system? Has the contract been sent? And all of these falling into place will show that actually we are organised and we know exactly what process we're following. The first day is really, really important. We don't want to be throwing our employees in the deep end. And what I mean by that is actually, do they know where they need to go? Who are they meeting? What does their first day look like? Have they got their IT equipment? And really simple things that we can forget. Do they know where the toilets are, and do they know how to make a coffee or tea, or where to get water from? Making sure that those things are outlined will make sure that the candidate feels comfortable. Our first 30 to 90 days are then the next milestone that we need to focus on. Are we setting expectations? Do we have regular catch-ups and check-ins with our employees? And actually making sure that actually we're getting feedback from the team. And that feedback is on the onboarding and also from the new starter. How did they find the onboarding? And would they kind of say that they liked, that they didn't like? What they experienced in other businesses as well? Feedback can make sure that we're always evolving and we're always reviewing our processes. Feedback is really, really important. And if we're feeding back, then we follow up and we make those changes as well. So just to go on to the key points, know what you're looking for in your recruitment process. If we know what we're looking for, then actually the process should be pretty seamless and pretty structured, which means we're testing the right things and we know what we're going to be, candidates we're going to get through the door. Be transparent about the roles and expectations, about the hours, whether there is weekend work, whether it's out of hours, what we would be expecting from the role, so the candidates know from the get-go of what they're going to be expected to do. Clear recruitment process that's role specific, testing the things that we need that role to be delivering. Plan the communication leading up to the onboarding. Who is in charge of that communication, and how are we making sure that we're staying in touch with our candidates? Have an onboarding plan and schedule, set the employees up to success, and set those expectations for those first 3 months with follow-up and making sure that everyone knows what the expectation is as well. Emma, can I go? Is there any questions on the Q&A?
Yeah, there's a question. How do you carry out personality profiling?
Okay, so there's DISC, which is our learning and development manager, Katie. She is disqualified. So the personality profiling with that is that there is a personality test where you answer a series of questions. It takes about 25 minutes and you get plotted into a color chart that actually gives you kind of all about you, but also how you like to be managed, how you like to work. And it gives you some really good insights of kind of within your personality, what gets the most out of you within the workplace. DISC is a really good one to use. We use it in Bespoke. And actually all of us are plotted on a big wheel that's in our office, and we are absolutely spread across. There is all of us HR consultants are very similar in how we work and our personalities, which is to be expected. But actually in terms of our support staff, that's what kind of makes us a full team, is that they then bring all the other things that we're looking for as well. So if you want more information about DISC, then yeah, just let us know on the support email, or obviously my email or Emma's, and we'll make sure we get back to you on that one. Anything else, Em?
No, that's all the questions, unless anyone's got anything else.
No, perfect.
No.
If anything, if there's any kind of you reflect on this, obviously I know it's only a quick half an hour, but yeah, if there's any notes or any information you want on anything that I've said or any further detail, then yeah, just let Emma know and I'll make sure that it's all shared with you, whether it's the notes from the presentation or the presentation itself. We can go from there. But thank you all so much for your time today. Perfect. Thank you all so much.